Hey, what is up? So for this video, I actually want to go back to the trailer for season 6 of Better Call Saul that was released a few weeks ago, and I actually want to take a look at a very short scene that was displayed to us in this trailer that apparently shows us the answer to a currently unknown mystery from the plot of Breaking Bad. Alright, so this was actually pointed out originally in an article by Screen Rant. And so at the very end of this trailer for season 6, we get probably less than a second of a scene from the plot of next season of what appears to be a surveillance system of some kind. And I definitely noticed this in the very short montage at the very end that was combined with a lot of other very short scenes very quickly at the end of this trailer. But I didn't really take a very close look at it, to tell you the truth. But after taking a more close look at this surveillance system, we can see that this is none other than Gus Fring's house that is being monitored. And what's actually very interesting about this is that we now know that throughout the course of Breaking Bad, Gus Fring's house was monitored with what appears to be 24-hour surveillance here. And very interestingly, because of this article that I mentioned brought up the scene from season 4 of Breaking Bad. In the episode entitled 38 Snub, we're following Walter White purchasing this gun. He then goes to Gus Fring's house with the implied intention of trying to kill him after witnessing Gus kill Victor in front of him and Jesse and Mike, and Walt fearing for his own life here. But following Walt getting out of the car and walking slowly towards Gus Fring's house, he's then interrupted by a phone call by a voice which appears to be Tyrus. Again, it wasn't really confirmed, but it does sound a lot like Tyrus. And following Walt answering the phone, we hear Tyrus say to Walt, "Go home, Walter."
Go home, Walter.
Walt then looking around, sort of very confused to how anyone knew he was walking towards Gus Fring's house. Now, of course, at the time, I also wondered this as well, but I always just assumed that maybe Gus Fring's house was being monitored outside. Maybe Tyrus was sitting in a car or something near his property and saw Walt walking and then called him. That's what I always assumed, but I had no idea that season 6 of Better Call Saul was going to present to us the answer to how Tyrus knew that Walt was walking towards Gus Fring's house. And what's really interesting about this short scene in this trailer is that it really concretely establishes that Walter White was right, how there was really no other place other than Casa Tranquila where Gus wouldn't see him coming. Everywhere else was just totally monitored with cameras and bodyguards. There had been no way for Walt to get anywhere near Gus to kill him. And really, Casa Tranquila and Gus Fring's emotional attachment to Hector Salamanca in a means to sort of sadistically torture him was the one bit of emotion that Gus allowed in his life, which ended up being his ultimate downfall of this person who, other than this, was incredibly calculated, incredibly smart, always thinking 15, 20 steps ahead. But this one bit of emotion that he allowed himself to have was ultimately his downfall. So pretty sort of interesting display to us in this trailer, in my opinion. That being said, this scene in this trailer also reminds me back to the teaser that was released prior to the release of season 6 of Better Call Saul, a very short 15-second teaser of Gus Fring entering his home after returning from what appears to be Los Pollos Hermanos based on the way he's dressed. And I did discuss that we never saw Gus Fring home alone over the course of Breaking Bad. And now it's very interesting to know that his home is under constant 24-hour surveillance, it appears, by this short scene in this trailer. Again, we can't really tell who this is looking at the monitors. I think this may be the henchman Nick, who reprised his role in Better Call Saul in season 4. I actually made an entire video about that henchman during season 4. You can go back and watch it if you want. But yeah, this short scene, it makes me very interested to see the sort of plot detail that I'm very much looking forward to of seeing Gus Fring while home alone. And while I originally saw Gus as a very solitary man who was someone who definitely very much kept to himself, we now know that while he's under 24-hour surveillance here, I would imagine that there's also likely maybe bodyguards very close to his home as well, if not living with him in his home. So it's pretty interesting to think that when Walt and Jesse went over to Gus Fring's house for dinner in Breaking Bad, that maybe it wasn't just the two of them there. There was probably very much so surveillance as well as bodyguards in the near vicinity for Gus Fring as a prophylactic measure, of course, that Gus always instituted just as a measure of safety, I suppose, knowing that he deals in a very dangerous world. Yeah, so that's all I really got for you guys on this one. Like I said, pretty cool, almost little Easter egg here, a sort of callback to Walter White. And like I said, while there's so many mysteries in the course of Breaking Bad, over the 5 full seasons of the series, many of them currently unknown and unanswered. To tell you the truth, I did know that this was an unknown mystery as well, how Tyrus knew what was going to Gus Fring's house. But to tell you the truth, it definitely wasn't a mystery that I thought about a lot when rewatching Breaking Bad. I would definitely think more about how did Walt manage to poison Brock.
Yeah, well, Clarence Darrow never had a client like you ask him for something like this, okay? I put my ass on the line for you. Huel, too, huh? He's got fingers like hot dogs. He could have easily busted this in two and killed everyone in the office. But do I complain? No, beg, borrow, or steal. I'm your Huckleberry. I go the extra mile. Only you never told me that kid would wind up in the hospital.
Or how did Walt manage to get all the way back to Albuquerque from New Hampshire, given what happened at the very end of the episode entitled Granite State with the police just all over that bar? How did he manage to get back to the compound, get the rest of his money, and then get all the way back to Albuquerque without being detected?
Just get me home. Just get me home. I'll do the rest.
Not to mention, how did he get in contact with Badger and Skinny Pete? I could go on and on, but like I said, I wasn't expecting this mystery to be addressed next season, but it's pretty cool that it is, and it really makes me wonder and think about what other mysteries and unsolved plot details that may be displayed to us next season in the 6th and final season of Better Call Saul. And as always, my name is Anton Jackson. Thank you again so much for watching this video.